Hey guys, Fleet here. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about another One Piece character. So the One Piece character series, this is the third installment. My last video was a chapter review. You guys can go check that out. It's on the channel. It was well received. My most well received video currently is the Rob Lucci one, which is almost at 50 views. Thank you so much, guys, by the way. You guys can go check that out. They'll be linked in the description, as well as the Sure video, which is the one that I did before the Rob Lucci video, which also was very well received. Now, this is the third One Piece character video, like I said, and if you guys want to join in on these picking the One Piece characters that are going to be made into the videos, then you guys can subscribe, turn on post notifications, and like the video if you'd like to. But if you want to vote for the characters, you're going to have to turn on those post notifications by subscribing, because I do polls every time these videos come out, just like how when this video comes out, there's probably going to be another poll. And I did post a poll, and the person that won on that poll out of the four was Ryuma the Swordsman. If you don't know who Ryuma the Swordsman is, you definitely don't watch enough One Piece, because he is probably one of the most infamous swordsmen in the One Piece series, at least to us fans, and I'll explain why in a minute. We met him quite a bit into One Piece, actually, especially in episodes and in manga. I think it was like around chapter 500 maybe, or 400, but around that time we definitely met him. At least the skeleton version of him. But let's just get into it. I don't really want to waste any of your time. Yeah, I've been busy this past week. I really was struggling to make a video. I really did not know if I could record this, because the time I'm recording this is November 9th. I'm pretty sure I was going to record this on the Friday next week, because I was so busy this whole week. But I hope this recording goes well. And if I keep this in, that means I was able to record it. Actually, me posting this is me able to record it. I'm stupid. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, follow all the other steps if you want to end up becoming a guy that contributes into the characters that I make in this video. Or comment it down below. Sometimes I just like to pick out the comments. Which, yeah, you should do so. Play the intro. Alright, first off, I'm gonna tell you who Ryuma actually is, then we're gonna tell you where we met him, and then we're gonna talk about the one-shot manga that he's actually featured in. And yeah, not many people know about this manga, and I suggest you read it. It's a really good one. It's like 40 pages long. That's almost 2 chapters of One Piece right there, and who doesn't love One Piece, right? This manga was created before Oda. I think it was created while One Piece was in the works, or at least a couple chapters in. But this was really early on, and when you watch it, it's definitely very old Oda style. When I say old, I mean chapter 1 type of old. It's still very good though, and you know, compared to now, it's complete crap. I'm not gonna lie to you. The art, not the story. The story is still very good, but the art compared to now, it is definitely not on par. It's a very like low standard, but it's pretty good, and you guys should go read it. Unfortunately, it's not out in any publication. Don't quote me on that, but it's not out in any publication. I don't think it's out on Manga Plus. I've checked, it's not. And I've not really checked any others other than just online actual publication. I have read it online, not in a publication, so illegally. But if you guys want to read it, I will not link it in the description. It's out there. I did find a Reddit thread on Reddit where a guy posted it in the comments, where you should be able to find it if you type it on Google. Now, yeah, I'm not going to be able to link in the description because that is an illegal thing to do. If you guys want to do it, I'm pretty sure you can find it yourselves. I'm not going to do it for you. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's 40 pages long, 42 pages, I think. And yeah, it's really good. Before we get into that, we're going to compare and see how it ties into the One Piece story. Because there's a lot of things, even though that manga was created way back, it definitely connects back to the One Piece story. Definitely even post-time skip, which is insane to me. Now, let's just talk about how he looks, just in general right now. He looks, to a T, Zoro. Think Zoro back at pre-time skip. Definitely back when we first met him. Skinny Zoro, not buff like he is now. He looks down to a T, Zoro. He is the same person as Zoro. Not in terms of personality, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, him and Zoro look exactly the same. The only difference is that Ryuma had black hair. It's implied black because it's colored black in the manga. There's not really anything there. It's not like when you go to Dragon Ball and the Super Saiyan transformation where it was all white to show it's golden. So it's completely black. It's not green like Zoro's, but they look exactly the same. The only difference is it's kind of a mashup between how Zoro looks and how Luffy acts. If you think of Wano Country when they both met up and fought together, combine that into one person, we got Ryuma, and I really like that. Actually, because I don't know if Monsters was supposed to be the One Piece that Oda was supposed to create, but he ended up going in a different direction. I don't know. Is there something out there? If there is, comment that down below. But I did not find anything. Either way, if Ryuma was the main character, I'd be so fine with that because even though this is just one chapter, which is basically 2 chapters, I fell in love with his character. It's so good. He's such a good character. It's an amazing story. Even though I have no attachment to these characters, because similar to One Piece is a very emotional series. Like think of Enies Lobby. Think of when Luffy lost his crew in Sabaody Archipelago. All this stuff that happened. It's definitely more emotional when I am attached to these characters. Imagine me watching Naruto than just seeing a clip of Luffy losing his crew in Sabaody Archipelago. I'm not gonna start bawling my eyes out for these people I don't know. But when you watch One Piece and you know what Robin means, like when she has friends, and what it means to her, what it means to Luffy to have his Nakama next to him all the time. When you see him lose his crew, bawling his eyes out, it hits way more. So that even this chapter, even though it's only one chapter, and I just met Ryuma, and even characters that I just met in this chapter, it made me want, even the bad guys, I really wanted Ryuma to beat them. That's how bad I hated them, even though I've just met them. That's how good Oda was, even back then. Just gotta tell you guys that, because Oda's GOAT. Even now, just look at the One Piece now, it's peak. Either way, Ryuma's very goofy in this sort of light, because even in the one-shot manga, he's really serious when it comes to his swordsman mentality. Think of Zoro when he's with Mihawk the first time he met him. Mihawk fought him and he lost, and he said, "It's a shame for my back to be turned as a swordsman." So he turns his back and Mihawk cuts him there, and Zoro takes it because he knows this is the pride of the swordsman. Ryuma is definitely the same. He shows that he has a lot of swordsman pride. Only difference is with Zoro is that he has Luffy's personality when he gets goofy, because he's very clumsy and but when he gets serious, he'll get serious if he needs to. And the end of this manga one shot definitely shows that, because he gets real serious. But the first time we ever met Ryuma was back in Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark is the Island of Zombies by Gecko Moria, the human-shaped onion that I really hate. He looks like this, and if you look like that, I hate you. No disclaimer, if you look like this, I hate you. If you look like that onion-shaped man. Either way, my hate for Gecko Moria aside, we do meet a lot of interesting characters. We meet Captain John. Captain John, is that his name? Captain John as a skeleton, which was part of Rox's crew, which could be a whole other video, but I'm not going to talk about him, of course. And we do meet a lot of people, this character, which I thought was the character back then, because there was a theory going around that this character next to Captain John, the skeleton, of course, because Gecko Moria had the power to reanimate them with these shadows. I thought it was the character Wang Ji. If you guys watch Tekken, you'll understand that reference. But his name is Wang Ji, or Ochoku, because in Japanese, Choku, in his actual Chinese term, it's Wang Ji, and everyone likes that name. Imagine saying, right now, do it with me. Wang Ji. It's amazing. It's amazing to say. Just say it. Wang Ji. It's amazing. It's amazing. Everyone loves Wang Ji. It's Wang Ji, guys. He could kill 5,000 people in the One Piece universe, and I would still like it because it's Wang Ji. Either way, since he reanimated so many cool people, the only kind of cool people there were, of course, Brook, which we met because he was stranded 50 years because his captain died of a disease on an island, and then we have him stuck on a ship with all his crewmates, and he was the one because he got reanimated. We met Brook, which is pretty cool, and Brook got his shadow stolen by Gecko Moria, and Gecko Moria implanted it into a swordsman named Ryuma. Back then, Ryuma, I already knew who he was because, again, I'm quite young. I wasn't there when One Piece first started, like when people like Tekking 101 or the Grand Line Review or O'Hara or For Never World, because he's probably my biggest inspiration, and he's been there from the start, and I haven't. I definitely joined very late, but when it comes down to it, I'm a manga guy. If you watch my videos, I've said this countless times. I read the One Piece manga first, and then I caught up with the anime. So Ryuma being this legendary swordsman, of course he has Brook Shadow, and even with Brook Shadow, he was doing amazing against Zoro. So Zoro fought him, Zoro beat him. I'm not gonna go into like the logistics of it, but I will say that I thought that this was Brook Shadow at work, and it was, of course, it definitely was, but even with that, you could definitely tell there was Ryuma in there. He was in there, even though Brook was, it's definitely implied, just when he gave Shisui to Zoro. Because when Ryuma lost and got cut down by Zoro, he was standing on top of the roof like this, and he was going, "This swordsman, this sword will be better with you. The sword will be pleased." And he drops it, and then Zoro catches it and goes, "Thank you, master." And then he has it. It's a really cool scene. I suggest you rewatch it or reread it if you read the manga like me. But yeah, it's a really cool scene, and yeah, I rewatched that shit 1,000 more times if I had to. But yeah, it's a really amazing scene, and Ryuma definitely had an attachment to the sword. Now in the one-shot manga, I don't know if this is the sword. It doesn't look like it, and we do get references to the Wano Kingdom, or Wano Kuni now, because Wano ended in the manga. But Wano Kuni is referenced later on, I think in Punk Hazard, that yeah, it is in Punk Hazard when we meet Kinemon when he has his little bun on his head. We see Luffy wearing Wano Kuni and Zoro and mostly all the Straw Hats. Frankie did it a bit for a bit, and yeah, he did it. And we have Zoro, we have Sanji, Luffy. Yeah, they did it for quite a while, and that's because in the Wano Kuni we got in Punk Hazard information that this is the normal hairstyle, and it's a hairstyle in Wano Kuni, mostly for men. So when I saw Ryuma in the one shot have his little bun thing there, I was like, yeah, he's from Wano Kuni. And even so, in Thriller Bark, he doesn't reference Wano Kingdom. He says, "My birthplace is the Wano Kingdom," and while he's fighting, he's like, "Yo ho 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 ho." Like my Brook impression there, yeah. Yeah. Voice acting 101, okay? Right, guys? Yeah. Subscribe, yeah. Either way, there's not really much on Ryuma in the story. He was referenced, I think you could say, by Zoro a couple times, like when he was using Shisui, back when he was in the training with Mihawk, and he was like, "I was given this great sword. I must master it. It's a very really good, very really good. Yes, very really good blade. Yeah." So on the one-shot manga, there's a couple people that I want to talk about. Two characters, in fact, which I really like. One of them is a bad guy. Just gonna say it off the jump. I'm not gonna just sit here and go, maybe. No, it's a bad guy. One of them, her name is Flair. She's a waitress in a bar. Now, at the start of the manga, we do see Ryuma. He is a swordsman. Well, he says he's a samurai. He doesn't say he's a swordsman. Actually, I don't think in the whole entire manga chapter. I read two different translations because again, this was translated from Japanese. It was never really in a publication. Again, don't quote me on that. But I read two different translations. Well, one he said he's a swordsman. One he says he is a samurai. I read the one who was a samurai, so we're just gonna go with that. Because of Wano Kuni, I chose the one of a samurai, right? So he has this little head bun, which confirmed that yes, he's from Wano Kuni, and he is at a bar, and there's this lady shouting at him. Her name is Flair, saying, like, "If you don't have any money, don't come here. Why? You need money to pay me, so I can, you can eat." By the way, I will not be putting up any manga panels. I might put up one or two, maybe, because last time I put one, even in my Raw Lucci video, even though those chapters are so long ago now, it's like years and years, a decade has passed, I still got copyright strike for it, because Viz likes money, or Shonen Jump even. We see this other guy walk in while Ryuma is begging for food, and he's another swordsman wearing a cowboy hat. His name is Shiruma, the legendary swordsman. He's a bad guy. Yeah, I told you. I'm just gonna tell you. So we're gonna skip off the shenanigans here. So Ryuma is sitting down. The girl finally lets him eat. Flair, apparently, we get this little backstory of her. She was 7 years ago a dragon. Yeah, a dragon. This, by the way, the title of this manga one shot is called Monsters, which is really good. Again, read it. It's so good. So we get a backstory of her, how she, 7 years ago, a little girl, lost her parents in a fire because a dragon came down, and the person that saved her is a Shuroma, or I can't remember this guy's name. I'm gonna call him Shura. Yep, Shura. So Shura has said that he has to like something to do after this, so he's gonna be quick, and he hasn't seen Flair in 7 years, and she's barely recognized her. She's just like a grown-up version of her little self. Hasn't really changed much. And Ryuma finally was let in, because while they're talking, he's kind of doing this gag thing where he's outside the window. He's like, "Please let me in. I just want to eat. I haven't eaten in 5 days. I've been starving." And that's true. He hasn't. And this is where I was saying he has that Zoro swordsman mentality, but also has that Luffy goofy mentality, which I really like. So we see Ryuma finally go inside after a while Shura is eating. And I was going to say Zoro there for a second. That's how much he looks like him. But he starts to eat. And after he's done, he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Mrs. Whatever your name is." Never learned your name, by the way. Not in the chapter. Not once. It's like, "Oh, thank you, master. You've replenished and saved my life. After 5 days of starvation, I owe you my life." And as soon as he opens his eyes after declaring that amazing speech, she's not even in front of him. She's talking to Shura. And I was thinking, oh, was Shura like her same age? But then I was like, 7 years ago, she was a little kid. Now, yeah, she was probably 11 back then. Yeah, and Shura was like an adult. So yeah, they're probably not lovers, but more like a father figure of some sort. Yeah. But yeah, she's talking to him, and Shura's like, "I gotta leave. I have an important thing to do." So then Ryuma just goes back to eating more food, and then his sword sheath. Now, if you don't know what a sheath is, it's a thing where you put your samurai blade inside of it. It's a thing that keeps your hand from, not breaking every time you hold your sword, and you have to pull it out. That's a sheath. So him being a swordsman of pride, showing out his Zoro side, while Shura is walking past him, their sheaths touch each other, which kind of sounds weird, but their sheaths kind of cling together, where they say clink in the chapter, so they clink together, and Ryuma just shoots up, almost pulls out a sword, like halfway, and goes, "We've touched sheaths, now we must duel," because that's the pride of a swordsman. Now, I already knew this guy was kind of the bad guy, just because I know this is Ryuma's story, but at the same time, this guy did not, even though he says he's the pride swordsman, and everyone in the bar, by the way, there's many people, the bartender says, and this is important, the line that the bartender says, this Shura guy, Shura the swordsman, he is nowhere near the king. And when I heard this, I was like, Roger? Is Roger canon? But this was before One Piece ever introduced Roger, so I was like, is he canon? Is this Roger? But then he said, no, King Swordsman, or King Samurai. So I was thinking, whoever this King Samurai is must be pretty goddamn strong. We never get his actual name. They just refer to him as King. King the Lunarian is canon. But all jokes aside, we do see that Ryuma gets up, pulls out a sword, then Shura accepts, and they fight, and then Shura compliments his form, Shura dodges, and is about to kill him, straight up, point blank, about to slice him in half. Then he dodges Ryuma on purpose, and then he cuts the statue in the back. There's a little statue of a head, and he cuts it in half clean. And Shura, even though being a bad guy, he's still pretty strong. He's not like a faker. Later on, you'll see he's faking a lot of things, but being a good swordsman, he's quite good at it. Although the bartender does say, "I didn't know you could cut such hard material," because the statue was made out of copper, which is pretty cool. Not as hard as steel though, and We know Ryuma can cut that because of what happens later in the chapter, like right at the end. Either way, he leaves, and Ryuma ends up kind of staying at the bar, asking, "Who is that guy anyway? He's just a weirdo, and I'm better than him. I know I am." And then he's like, the bartender's like, "Oh, that guy, he's a legendary sword. 7 years ago, he saved." This is where we get the flashback of where we actually see it this time. We don't just get mentioned. We see of him Shura holding Flare in her, like a little girl Flare in his arms, and going, "Oh, your parents, they died. Oh, so sad." Tear down. Oh, I don't know what that was, but So Flare, it tells like he's a great man, and then Ryuma says, "I'm gonna go out to town for walking for a little bit. I'll be back if I'm, hungry." There's like, "Just leave," and then Ryuma starts to leave. He bumps into this guy. They touch sheaths. This is not Shura. This is another guy with a sword. They said in the little box, the narrator said that this guy's a 3rd Division swordsman. Now, in One Piece, the actual One Piece, the series, there's no division swordsman. There's division classes in the Marines for swordsmen. There's no division for swordsman. There's no class for swordsman. There's not, here's an upper swordsman. Here's an, it's not like the Demon Slayer where they're like, this is the upper Kizuki. No. It's nothing like that. There are all the ranks for your swords, like a Wazamono or an upper class Wazamono, because those swords are black blades or just cursed blades. Those are Wazamonos and all types of stuff. This guy was not. Again, I wouldn't take this too heavily with the One Piece story, even though it does connect very well. This is way before any of that Wazamona stuff was ever introduced. So yeah, I wouldn't take this too like, oh my god, look at it. If you want to, go for it, but I'm not telling you to just don't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So Ryuma, after the sheaths touch with this random 3rd grade swordsman guy, he like grabs him and is about to say, "Let's have a Jew," but then he gets cut off. And this guy says, "How dare you?" And Ryuma's like, "What? What'd I do?" And then the guy stabs himself. Now wait, hold on for a minute. Let me explain. This guy stabs himself, and there's a lot of people in the town, and they're all crowded. They can't really see this guy stab himself. So since Ryuma is holding him, he's doing this. He's like, "Let's Jew," but then he gets cut off, and this guy's holding us like a sword in his chest. He's like, "You stabbed me! How dare you, swordsman!" And then everyone's like looking back at him after he's like shouting. He's like, "Did that samurai just stab him? How dare you? How dare you stab this young man? Apologize." That was kind of funny to me. Ryuma eventually just goes, "I didn't do anything," and the whole entire time I was like, "What did I do? What'd I do? What'd I do?" And then this little guy, this little like swordsman dude, starts going, "No, how dare you? You know what? I'm taking you down with me. No, the whole town down with me." And then he's like, "You know what? I have a better idea. I have this horn, and I won't let you have it." Ryuma's like, "I don't want it. What did I do?" And then this guy pulls out this horn. It's like this big, and he says it's a dragon horn. Now, at first I thought this was like a scam. This guy was just like a con, which kind of is, but it isn't. Like, when you break the horn, the dragon will come in and get summoned after a day, maybe, or a couple of hours. So he breaks it in half, and then everyone starts running, "Oh, a dragon's coming!" Some people stay, like the main people we saw in the bar, kind of the main side characters, I guess you could say. And they're like, everyone that's like not a main side character starts running out the village, like, "Oh, head for the hills, a dragon's coming, run!" But then we see Ryuma just like holding the guy still and just lets go and goes, "What did I do?" Then everyone, as soon as the guy runs away, because he just disappears, we see Shura come out of nowhere and go, "Hey, it's okay, guys. I'll take care of this." See where this is going? See where this is going? Yeah. If you're smart enough, you'll know where this is going. But then Shura kind of defends Ryuma and goes, "Don't be hard on the samurai. He was just here and I don't know, he did this, it's fine. We forgive him, right? He stabbed the dude. What if he actually did? Just forgive a guy that stabbed someone. Wow. What a great swordsman you guys worship, right?" Either way, Ryuma's like, "Okay." cool, thanks for the help, man, and kind of just leaves. And they kind of just leave. Shura takes this dude. He's like, I'm gonna go find him and I'm gonna take him out, and then I'm gonna take out this dragon. Then Flair comes up to him and says, "What are you talking about? Take out the dragon?" Flair does care about Shura because she's like it's like a father figure because her parents died and he saved her, so it's like a father figure to her. And she's like, "You can't go fight that dragon. You'll die." And he's like, "Flair, listen. I might be, a swordsman. But if I turn down this battle, what swordsman am I?" It's like he's giving like a nice speech. He says something like, "If I die, then at least I died going out strong." He said something like that. And it left a real thing with her. She's like, "Okay, you know what? Just come back safe. And so he leaves to fight the dragon. And yeah, so she goes back into the bar. Everyone has ran out of town at this point. Everyone's in the hills. We don't see this, but they've all ran out. It's been stated by the narrator. We see it later in the chapter that they are in the hills, quite far away from the town, but you can still see the town over this huge cliff. So the only two people in the town right now are Ryuma and Flair. Flair is sitting at the bar and she can't leave the town because she's too worried about Shura. And then she is like, "I can't do this. I have to go help him." So she runs out, and Ryuma's like, "Hey!" He's comes on the bar like, "No, don't do that." And then she's like, "Why?" She's just mad at him and just starts shouting at him and goes, "Why, why Ryuma? Why'd you have to do this? Why'd you have to give attention and stab that man?" Ryuma's trying to say, "I didn't do it," but she's not believing him, and she's going, "You did do it. And why'd you do it? Because you did this. Now Shura has to fight that dragon and possibly die." And Shura's like, Ryuma keeps saying, "I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. What do you want me to say?" And yeah, he's going crazy. And she's also going insane and saying, "You'll never change. You're just a weird, stupid samurai, aren't you? Bloodlust and everything." Then Ryuma starts having a shock face, pulls out his sword, puts it to her throat. I was like, what's happening now? But then, here's the plot twist. He says, "Don't look, don't turn around." And, I thought this was going to be a scene where she was going to go, "What are you doing? You want to kill me now? What's going on?" No, that's not what's happening. It's kind of a funny scene later on where he puts it to her throat and goes, "Don't look, don't turn around." So there's something behind her. And she turns around anyway because Ryuma was not going to cut her head off. Ryuma falls and goes, drops the sword. "I said don't look." And then she turns around. The two people we see Shura and that old guy that got stabbed. That was a 3rd Division swordsman. So, what happens? What do we see them doing? They have boxes, crates of jewels and gold and money. Yeah, you know where this is going, don't you now? All right. So we see Shura, and he's laughing. So they run behind a building corner, Ryuma and Flair, and go, "What are they doing?" So then they just hear them talking about their whole plan and how that stupid samurai guy set it up even perfectly. Before it was good, but now it's perfect because that samurai guy made it look like I stabbed him, he stabbed me. So yeah, they're talking about their partners in crime, how they steal money by saying a dragon's coming, but when the dragon comes, while the dragons are terrorizing everyone, they steal the money, and they can control the dragon because of the dragon horn. That's the only reason. So then they hear the whole plan, especially Flair, and this was really heartbreaking to see because even though I'm not attached to these characters, like I said, it was really heartbreaking. Of course, I didn't cry like I cried for Luffy losing his crew, or him losing Ace, or just anything in general in One Piece, like Robin wanting to live and Luffy's like, "I will save you," and their whole crew standing. Because I'm attached to these characters for episodes and manga chapters, read and read and read. But this one manga chapter made me kind of, wasn't teary-eyed, but kind of watery in the eyes because it was pretty sad. So Shura starts screaming out loud. I don't know who the hell does this. It's the Home Alone captors from Home Alone, going, "So this is what we're gonna do, guys, right? We're gonna go in the house with the kid. We're gonna steal the money because the whole parents are gone. No one's ever gonna find out." He's just shouting this out to everyone in the neighborhood. So he starts doing the same thing and goes, back 7 years ago when we summoned the dragon and we stole all the gold, a little girl, which was Flair, came up to him and said, "Please, my mommy and daddy, they're stuck under rocks. Can you please help them?" And then Shura knocks her out with one shot. Think of the Rob Lucci going, uh, okay, and straight up knocking her out. Knocks her out. He holds her in his arms like this, and goes up and like he finds her dad. And this shit gets dark, man. This shit gets dark. She finds her dad. And is like, oh, thank you so much, sir. I see you found my daughter. She got help. And he takes his sword and cuts the dude's head off. Now we don't see the brutality of it. We do see a very silhouetted, both of them with the sword, Shura and the dad, very far away, and you see blood in his head like this. And eventually later on, when Flair wakes up, she's like, "Where's my mom and dad?" Then Shura's like making up a lie, like, "I couldn't save them. I saved you though, didn't I?" Then she grows up, he leaves 7 years later, and now we're here. So she hears all this, and Flair runs back into her bar, and Ryuma's like, "You're not gonna run away, are you?" It's like, "No, why do I? What do I have to live for?" And she doesn't cry. Ryuma's like, "She's quite strong. Well, at least she didn't run away," Ryuma says. Just stands there, keeps listening to these guys' conversation, and they said they're gonna summon a dragon any minute now. Well, he's gonna be here any minute now, because they already summoned them. So Flair is in the bar, and she starts to cry. And I mean cry. Think about when Robin was like, "I want to live." Even worse than that, she was on the ground, like this is very similar to the Nami scene where she was like, "Arno," and she's like stabbing her arm. Except she's just like thinking back to what this guy did, and just like the memory of her, like, him laughing here, like next to her. She's like ripping her face, like, why? And then we see Ryuma hearing this because she's like shouting. She's shouting. I don't know how they didn't hear him, Shura and all, but she's shouting. She's screaming. She's like in agony. She's like, "Why?" And Ryuma goes on the roof, or not on the roof. He goes up the stairs right above the bar because it's a building and there's a bar built into it. He goes on the right under the next floor, the second floor. Takes a head start, runs, and jumps off the roof, runs straight to the bad guys, and then we get a cut of him just like with his sword, like a cut off, or with him like sword pulling it out, and then right as he's about to do it, we cut, and we see the civilians. But like when I said, they're on the cliff, and there's this two main characters where it's like the bartender, which has all the information because it's a bartender. One Piece bartenders, they have all the information. Just look at the one with Blackbeard and Luffy. He had all the information. Just look at him. He's famous. But, bartender. And then we have the civilian that told Ryuma to basically, end it off. You know what I mean? There's a term in this manga chapter called hatakiri, which is a term for basically, you know what I mean? If you catch my drift, you know what it means, right? So either way, they're like, let's just have faith in Shura. Let's do this. And then we just cut back to the most badass line Ryuma said in this whole freaking manga chapter thing. And he just, he sees the two bad guys, and he's like, you see him going, and he's like drifting across, and he's like, "If a swordsman denies a duel even after their sheets touch," again, sounds weird, I know, "then they're no samurai at all." And then he grabs his sword and is about to attack, and then stops, and then they're like laughing at him and going, "Shut up, man, stop being so weird and leave this town." And he grabs his sword, Shura, and is about to attack, and then Ryuma gets serious and he goes, "No," and then he grabs it and one shots him straight up, it's like he hasn't even moved light speed. Think of Rurouni Kenshin, I think that's the name. I haven't watched much of it, but the vision just puts a sword in, ching, and then he gets cut. So he's implied dead, and he is, because we don't see him ever in the chapter. We see his dead body later. And then his partner, the guy that got stabbed and was pretending to get stabbed, he's there like, whoa, man, I know he lost, but you can't kill me. The dragon's coming. If the dragon's coming, I'm the only one that can control it with this horn. So if you kill me, everyone else dies, including you. And then Ryuma don't give a damn. So then it cuts before he ever does anything. And we see, what's her name? Flair on the roof. She went from the bar to the roof. She's just getting ready for the dragon. She's like, okay, I'm ready to die. And then we see Ryuma just jump from the bottom level all the way to the roof like a mad lad, and he's running. And the flare looks to her right or her left, and she sees Ryuma on the roof running, and this dragon coming out of nowhere. Now the dragon design here is my favorite one. I don't care if you read this, you might not like it because it looks very similar to that filler arc in One Piece called Dragon Island, I think it's called, where we meet the little girl. She has a dragon for like a grandpa that she raised, and wants to take him back to this dragon island. And yeah, looks very similar. Kind of a mixture between that dragon because of the long neck, plus the Punk Hazard dragon, which is very girthy and had like a really big stomach and really big wings. I like the design. The face is very menacing. Either way, we do see Ryuma. We do see Ryuma jump, and the dragon is coming straight, like open mouth, like ah, and he's like, Ryuma's like ah, and then he just cuts his head off, clean in half. Same like Zoro back in Punk Hazard. It's a 1-to-1 paneling, like straight up. He does this, like cuts in half, Zoro, and Ryuma does the same thing. The only thing that's different in the paneling is that instead of Ryuma having a sick pose, he's like this. So he cuts it in half, clean cut, and he just kind of kills the dragon. Yep, that's it. Don't really have any more to say. Just kills the dragon, lands. There's a big dragon corpse. It falls on the town. Not fall on any buildings. Kind of in place exactly with the roads. And then what's her name? Flare jumps. Well, doesn't jump. Well, she goes from the second floor and then jumps down to the first. And she sees Ryuma, and Ryuma has his little, you know those things that hobos use, the one the stick and the little thing at the end is like, yeah. Ryuma has the same, and he ties it to his sword like one, and he's like, well, what a huge lizard. I wonder what it eats. Back to that goofy loofiness he has in there. And then he sees Flare, and he's like, oh, so you didn't decide to die. Then Flare's like, no, I decided to live, thanks to you. And he's like, oh, you saw that. Okay. He's like so chill about it. He's like, yeah, I killed the dragon. So what? Then she's like, okay. Then Ryuma's like, well, I'm off now. I gotta go. Yeah, see you later. Thanks for the food. And he's like, you owe me one, by the way. I fought twice. It means you owe me one now. And then he's like, and then she turns around and goes, Ryuma. She doesn't say Ryuma, but she goes, if you're this strong, why have I never heard of you? And then he just turns around and goes, well, I don't really need fame to fight, right? You just fight for the people you like. And he just leaves. And that's it. And civilians come back to town after he's left. And then we see him in a panel quite far away from the town. We see it in the distance, but it's quite far away. It's kind of blacked out, so he's quite far away now. And we see the civilians come back, and Flare is telling them all about how Ryuma is the actual one that saved them and killed the dragon, and Shura was the bastard. And we see both the dead corpse of Shura and his teammate. And yeah, and then everyone starts cheering, and then the bartender's like, oh yeah, Ryuma. Like, Ryuma? Who's that? Well, that's the name of the king. Boom! Guess who the king was? That he referenced at the start of the chapter. The king swordsman. The king samurai. That he was making fun of Ryuma, that he could never live up to this king. And then this bartender was like, oh my god, Ryuma. I know who that is now. People in other villages that Ryuma has saved, they call him Ryuma. Not by his own choice name, but they call him Ryuma because of them he just saves everyone. They just named him Ryuma. I don't know if in Japanese what Ryuma means. Maybe it means something. I don't know. If you are Japanese or can translate that for me, in the comments you go. But Ryuma legit just goes, yep, Ryuma. That's the king. Then everyone just starts to laugh. It's like, really? The king? Hope he comes back one day. Then we just see Ryuma at really far away, like I said. He's like, I'm getting really hungry now, again. Should I go back? No, well, maybe later. Then it ends. That's a great chapter. I really liked it. Now, for that, there's not really much else on Ryuma. I've looked at the wiki. We have his abilities. I was gonna count the ones he did in Thriller Bark. Problem is, there's not really any that is his ability, because all the abilities he's used in Thriller Bark are Brooks, but just really enhanced because it's Ryuma. So I wasn't gonna use that, because when I make a Brook video eventually, I'm just gonna name the same technique, so that's kind of useless. So yeah, there's not really much on Ryuma. Even though this video is pretty goddamn long. From when I'm recording, it is 43, almost 44 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this down quite a bit. I don't know how much. Maybe it will just be down to 40 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. And Grand Fleet signing out. Peace, guys.